Good morning. It's Thursday, June 25, 2020, and I'm here with another video update. Once again, I'd like to apologize for the long gap between this update and the previous update. I was just extremely busy, but let's just get straight into the analysis. So, first, I drew a Fibonacci retracement for the recent drop we had on June 24th. And I'd like to point out how Bitcoin clearly bounced off that high 8,900 levels and is currently being supported by the 0.382 Fibonacci retracement. If we zoom out and do a bigger Fib retracement, we can notice how, let's just draw it real quick. If we draw a bigger Fibonacci retracement from the lower low to the highest high we have, let's move it here. Then we can see the next golden pocket is about 6,300 at that level. And if Bitcoin is breaking in a bearish scenario, which is likely, considering if you look at the EMA ribbon, it's consolidating around this area. If it is breaking down, I do expect it to break past this expected move target. And the only thing that can prevent that on a bearish scenario is this support we have right here. Let me get rid of this Fibonacci retracement. So this green support box that I've drawn here is based on multiple factors, including the VPVR, which you can see right here, which has support right there. And it's also based on a few other indicators that I can answer. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments below. But I'd like to point out some more important factors. If you guys noticed, about 3 weeks ago, I mentioned that the miners' capitulation has started around. I actually mentioned it before it started, so it was around like the end of May, about a month ago from today, and the miners capitulation on the hash ribbons. The hash ribbons are basically just the hash rate over the moving average. So it has flashed the first strong buy signal. Please be aware that this is not a short-term signal. This is a long-term signal to indicate it's a great time to start dollar cost averaging for the next 6 months to come. On a more smaller time frame, we can notice how volume has been on a constant decline. And if you draw a line that's let's move it back a little. If you draw a line that's a little bit more conservative, like I did here, the end of the volume drop and the end of this triangle, this ascending triangle, meet up around the same day, mid to late July. Although I think this breakout has to happen before then. Later we'll talk about how I don't think this pattern will be an ascending triangle, just because we've been testing the bottoms and overshooting it many times, and we've even overshot the top 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So now getting closer, we can see that this pink box right here is major resistance we've been having. Now, I know the VPVR doesn't indicate as such. The VPVR actually indicates more resistance around that most traded zone, that 9,500 level. But the reason I drew this support or this resistance is because it has the psychological fear factor for Bitcoin crossing 10,000. There's no other reason Bitcoin should not be crossing 10,000. Now, I want to point out that I've drawn two lines here. Now, some people might be confused by that, but let me explain. So what I like to do for this upward sloping support line of the ascending triangle is draw one conservative estimate and one liberal estimate. So if you go back to the 3 month time frame, you can see that, let's move this back up. You can see that the thicker line is a more liberal estimate, while the thinner line is a more conservative estimate. So the reason I like to have both is you can see that both lines are tested multiple times. And the more we test this, the weaker it gets and the more a bearish scenario could play out. Now, I want to talk about a bullish scenario that we could expect playing out over the course of this week. Probably not this weekend because the CME markets will be closed, but very high chance this will happen on the 29th, which is this Monday to come. So if you look at the RSI, we're right where we need to be. We're not oversold, we're not overbought, and that indicates that this scenario might happen. So if you see, we almost had an inverse head and shoulders right here, but it wasn't on a small enough time frame where it actually matters as an indicator. But this BART pattern, which indicates this wasn't market manipulation. Market manipulation only happens when it's like this and happens within the course of a few hours or an hour. This was actually a BART pattern created by just the market in general, just supply and demand. So that combined with that there was no market manipulation happening here. Well, of course, all of this is just an assumption. There is no core facts backing up that there was no market manipulation here. But if you were curious what led me to believe so, is that you can see some form of closing wedge here. And if you go back here, the price shot up, which could be natural, but I think it was market manipulation because if you take a look at the blockchain, it's easily visible that a few key players made the both moves happen. So looking back here, I have not checked the blockchain. If someone wants to do that, please do that and leave it in the comments below. But I'm going to assume this was not market manipulation just because of the almost closing wedge pattern we see here. And because that was not market manipulation, and because the RSI is right where we need to be at 50, and the declining volume, I think for a bullish scenario, the best we can hope for is an inverse head and shoulders here. Now, I want to point out, I talked earlier about how this ascending triangle might not even be a real pattern. The reason I'm saying that is, yes, there is the argument that because it's been playing out over the past 2 months, it has to be a very significant pattern. But you have to keep in mind that TA is not accurate all the time. And another factor is that Bitcoin's price is not dependent on um, investors that are doing TA all day. Bitcoin's price is dependent upon its fundamentals and the Bitcoin whales who are buying and selling 10,000 Bitcoin, 5,000 Bitcoin, and even much more for some. So I want to point out this publication I made on June 1st, where I said, too many people know about that, so this will happen. And there I clearly drew this ascending triangle. And what I wanted to point out is I thought back then, which is about 2 months ago now, that I don't think that this is going to be an ascending triangle. Instead, I think this is going to be a sideways trading channel. The reason I think that is look at the VPVR. And then also, when I click on load new bars, look how well this fits the narrative. Do you see that? It perfectly fits the narrative. So this was drawn 2 months ago, so I didn't extend the lines further. But we can go back to our chart now, and if you zoom out, you can easily see how, let's take these indicators off. You can easily see if we draw new lines, then there we go. So you can easily see how this could easily turn into a sideways trading channel, which in my opinion is far more healthy for Bitcoin than straight breaking out. Because if we break out, a market correction is bound to happen. Now, this does not mean we won't break out. As I said, an inverse head and shoulders or a rounded bottom on the weekly time frame or on the daily time frame could set us back up to test the 10,000 level. But that pink box from earlier is going to be serious resistance. And the only way to break through that is with a huge bull run. We need something like this to happen, where we just break through the resistance without any sort of hesitation. Any hesitation to break the resistance will break the bull's morale and a bearish scenario will play out. If a bearish scenario plays out, a guaranteed drop is to the 7,000, 7,200 levels. But in my opinion, we're going to hit the Fibonacci golden pocket. If you draw the Fibonacci again from here to here, that lands about at the 6,200, 300 level, between 6,200, 6,300. And I think that's going to be our key support that we won't break. If you look at here, old support turned resistance, that does back it up. It's around 6,800. The 6,200, 300 level is right here. And if you go to the 1 year mark and you look at the 6,200, 300 level, look at that. We had support right here, and we had resistance in the past as well. Look at all this. So all this combined with the golden pocket makes me believe that if this, whatever this is, sideways trading channel, ascending triangle, if this is going to play out in a bearish scenario for the next 3 to 6 months, we can expect a bear market. And I know I said the miners capitulation has just ended. Now, for those of you who haven't watched my last video and don't know what miners capitulation is, most of you probably already do. It indicates when miners are profitable and when they're not profitable. So 2 months ago, I announced when miners became not profitable, and now the miners capitulation. If you want to pull that up real quick. Um, Also, for those of you who don't have it, the miners capitulation is measured by the hash ribbons, and that can be got on TradingView and I know a few other trading softwares. And you see that the first strongest buy signal has been printed yesterday, actually. And of course, the blue buy signal has not flashed. But keep in mind, as I said earlier, both the blue and the green buy signals are a long-term accumulation signal. It's not a short-term signal. So a bear market is highly probable given the current circumstances. Now, I wanted to point out an article that came yesterday, actually just about 12 hours ago, and it said by CoinDesk, miners are sending bitcoins to exchanges again. That means miners are selling Bitcoin, and that may be bearish. Well, that may be bearish, yes, but I think that's more bullish than it is actually bearish. And let me justify that. So the miner's capitulation flashing a green signal, if you want to zoom in on that, you can see how the green, it becomes green just like that. It became green here. This means that miners are starting to become more profitable. Now just think about it logically. On a macroeconomic scale, when mining becomes more profitable, what do miners want to do? Yes, they want to expand their technology. They want to expand their infrastructure to be able to mine more Bitcoin. Why would miners be selling their Bitcoin? To buy more graphics cards, to buy more mining rigs. Miners, in my opinion, on a macro scale, are selling at the beginning of the end of the miners' capitulation because now they're profitable again and having more mining rigs makes sense. So that was it for today. If you like the content I brought, don't hesitate to leave a like. And if you have any questions, please ask in the comment section below. I was not able to touch on all the indicators I used to make this video, but I'm more than happy to share any indicators I used. And if you have personal questions like what's my SP or my TP, then please leave them in the comments and I'll be active all day. Have a great day. Thank you.